I actually acquired the land with a property on it already. So the land was a little bit on the more expensive side at $150,000. But when I purchased the land, I wanted to have 2 dwellings on the property, and I thought that this would sit perfectly. So for the standing seam roof, I was actually impressed that it wasn't that much. Labor and materials for the roof was about $6,000. I thought that was pretty cost effective. I spent a little bit more of a premium on the siding. Like I said before, that the siding, because of the cypress and this really natural wood, it was about $25,000. That wasn't including the labor, that was just for the material. The labor in terms of the house, I had a general contractor, so he had a specific fee, and he also had a fee for his carpentry work. So it's hard to pin down exactly what labor cost on some of the stuff, but for my general contractor fee, I paid $40,000, and this contracting fee was valuable, and I think for a first build, I would have done that, but moving forward, I think that maybe I would try to do it myself in terms of contracting, but it was nice not having to deal with the permitting and all of the subs that were kind of lined up, and the carpentry and the labor in terms of that. The carpentry labor and the windows and the doors and the trim, that whole package cost about $40,000 for the labor. So the general contractor and his labor cost for the carpentry was about $80,000. One of the most important elements to building new construction is your well and septic system. This was a little scary because I had no idea what to expect. The property that I purchased actually had a very specific engineered system on it, but after going through the county, they needed me to add an additional septic system to the land. Because the dwelling sits on a lower grade than where the septic is, I had to do a pump system that would pump up to it. And then it had to be pumped up the mountain because of health and sanitation and all of that. So all in all, the septic system, which was engineered, and it probably a little bit more on the medium to high side, cost around $15,000. The well is wonderful because it's awesome to be able to pull water from the ground. This was a very interesting process. I actually saw them be able to dig the hole. They hit water about 300 feet down below the earth, which is pretty normal, but it wasn't enough flow. So they had to get down to about 500 feet before I was able to get a good enough flow. This all in all, in terms of labor and material, cost about $14,000. One of the things that was a non-negotiable for me in this build was putting this wood-fired hot tub and this wood-fired stove in the house. I was happy to learn that the stove wasn't that expensive, about $1,500 to $2,000. But when they told me it was going to cost about $10,000 in total, I was a little shocked because you don't think about all the other costs that go in. You have to put a chimney system and labor. So that all in all was about 10 grand, maybe a little bit shy of 10 grand. One of the other non-negotiables for this property was the off-grid hot tub. I splurged and spent about $3,500 on it. Probably could have gotten an electric one for a lot cheaper, but I thought it would set perfectly with the cedar wood and the chimney beautifully on that deck. One of the more big ticket items and costly things in the house, but probably one of the most important, are your windows. I wanted to stray towards bigger windows, and they were a little bit more custom. I also went with Marvin, which is maybe a little bit more of a higher end manufacturer. So all in all, including this giant sliding glass door on the front door, the windows were about $20,000. I didn't think that was too bad and pretty reasonable. You could even go with less and more cost-efficient options, but I just really liked the sleekness, and it totally fit the aesthetic that I was looking for. 3 other things that are probably the most important aspects of a build are your HVAC, your plumbing, and your electrical. There's an entire process of rough in and then trim out. It was even new to me, and it was fun to learn about it. HVAC, I did a traditional heat pump system downstairs, and I went with a mini split upstairs. The reason being is because of the crawl space, if I would have to run up the duct upstairs, I'd have to create an entire closet to encase the ductwork. And I didn't want to lose any square footage. So I just took everything from the crawl space for the downstairs and I put a mini split upstairs. That made it a little bit more expensive, but all in all, about $13,000 for the HVAC. Plumbing should be on the cheaper side, and especially for a place like this where it's not so big and there aren't that many trim outs, it should be pretty cost effective. I spent about $6,000. That includes labor. The last element to a build in terms of these rough-in processes is going to be electrical. Electrical is a little complicated. It's more expensive than you think it would be. A lot of the trims aren't super pricey, but labor, and especially with these tall roofs, brought it up a little bit. I spent about $12,000 on the electrical. For the appliances, I definitely splurged a little bit on it. I went with the Fisher & Paykel. I really like the sleekness about it. The black on the white oak gives it a really nice look. So for the stovetop, the oven, and the dishwasher, which was a panel ready, I went with Fisher & Paykel. The fridge in itself, I did a panel ready fridge. So these go right onto it. So when you open it, it just opens right into this. And this is a fridge and a freezer combo. Smaller appliances, believe it or not, do cost a little bit more money. That was something new that I learned. But again, being that it's smaller space, you could splurge a little bit. To finish off the appliances, I did a stackable Electrolux washer and dryer. And in total, all of these cost about $10,000, maybe a little bit more, but all in all, not too bad. This build came in around $300,000. The plans called for about 920 square feet. It came in a little bit shy of 1,000, so it came into about $300 per square foot. I had an idea in mind and a price in mind of what I thought it would cost, and it definitely went a little bit over budget, but I wouldn't change anything, and I can take this valuable information, and next time that I build a den, I will be more confident that I'll be able to come under budget, and I'll be even happier than before. So yeah, thanks for taking the tour with me on this property that I have poured lots of energy and love into, and I hope one day that you can visit it. We'll be on Airbnb, Vrbo. You can follow us on Instagram at The Hutch Asheville, and we look forward to seeing you out here in the mountains.